Brian Flores, former coach of the Miami Dolphins, had a
currently
winning record.
Suing the NFL, right?
Yeah,
Currently
had a winning record.
suing the NFL.
Suing
right?
the NFL. He has a Super Bowl ring from being with the Patriots. This guy's not. He's a good coach, basically.
Okay.
He got fired, and now he's suing the NFL and the Miami Dolphins and alleging some things.
Okay, what's he alleging?
He's alleging that the owner, Stephen Ross, paid him to tank. And tanking is when you lose on purpose, because if the worse you do, the higher draft pick you get in the following draft in the NFL. That he offered to give him $100,000 per loss. Brian Flores has integrity, told him to fucking shove it. He also alleges that Brian Flores.
You believe it?
I don't put it past the white billionaire who's got a business school named after him.
I don't put anything past these people.
Yeah, Michigan's business school, Ross School of Business, is named after this guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's that guy.
Oh, he's that guy.
Yeah. And, you know, these NFL teams are pissing contests for these billionaires, right? So, yeah, he'll give them $100,000, you know what I mean? And then he also wanted to bring in what it sounds like. They never specifically said so, but Brian Flores alleges that a certain prominent quarterback, Mr. Ross, wanted him to bring in. Everybody believes that's Deshaun Watson, who's facing like 20 different rape allegations right now. So Brian Flores said, no, I don't want to bring him in.
Ew.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing we'll get into another time.
What?
Brian Flores said, yeah, he didn't play all of last year because of that.
Who got accused of a dozen rape charges?
Deshaun Watson, the former quarterback of I guess technically he's still there, but he didn't play. Quarterback of the Houston Texans.
It's the one crime that when men are accused of it, every other type of crime, especially if it's of a Black man in America, I'll tell you, like, my first instinct is always like, ugh, what are they trying to pin on him now? But when I hear it's sexual assault charges, for some reason, that's not my first reaction. I'm always like, oh, they accuse you of that?
Right. It's like,
I don't know. I can understand murder. I can understand robbery. I can understand assaults. I can understand shooting somebody. I'm not saying it's right. I just mean that my mind, for whatever reason, can accept that. But there's something about dozens of, like, I know men who have never been accused of that, right? Let alone 12. Like,
right.
Bro,
we should do a deep dive at some point, because I do want to delineate between the people that are saying he raped versus the people that are saying he was just inappropriate with them, because the whole thing is that this was happening during the pandemic and he was hitting up massage therapists, people who advertise themselves as massage therapists on Instagram.
Okay.
And so he's getting the massage and he pulls his dick out or whatever. And so we'll get into the details. But the point is, the guy's in hot water right now to the point where he did not even play.
Okay.
And the Mr. Ross said bring him in, and Brian Flores said no. So he's accusing that of happening. The other thing he's accusing the NFL of doing is, so they have the Rooney Rule, where if you're hiring a new coach, you have to give a minority coach an interview. So a lot of them just do a token interview or whatever. So he got brought.
There's a rule for that, right? Is that what's the Thule rule or something?
The Rooney Rule. It's named after Art
Rooney
Rooney.
Rule, sorry.
Yeah, the family that owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was a white billionaire who advocated for this. And then if you don't do it, you pay a little fine, right? And there are plenty of teams that have, they fire a coach, they don't interview a minority candidate because they already know who they want. They just pay their Rooney Rule fine and people fucking move on, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
I got nothing against you if you do that. You fire coach,
I got nothing against you if you do that too. I'm like, cool.
Pay your fine, move on. And that's happened before.
Right. It is what it is. Duly noted.
And so I believe Brian Daboll got hired by the New York Giants, and Bill Belichick, Brian Flores' former boss and who is the head coach of the Patriots, text Brian Flores believing he was texting Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll was white. Brian Flores is Black and Latino. And he texted him congratulating him. Nothing wrong with that. That happens. But the problem is he texts Brian Flores congratulating him. Hey, I heard the Giants are going to go, I'm hearing they offered you the job. Congrats. Brian Flores was still scheduled for an interview with the Giants. He hadn't interviewed with them yet. It was on the calendar. It's like he texts him on a Wednesday and he's supposed to be interviewing with them on a Friday, but they've already made the decision. And enough people know that they've already made their decision to the point that Bill Belichick, who does not work for that team, is calling and congratulating him.
Are we surprised though? Are we surprised?
No, but he's got a point.
He confused his Negroes. Are we surprised?
I'm not Bill Belichick 70 years. I'm not even mad about that, but just
right. I'm not even mad about. I'm just like,
y'all got him coming for this token interview,
right? So, but he did get hired by a team.
So in the midst of all this, because people felt like, oh my God, this guy's going to get blackballed. The one black coach, literally the one black head coach, hired him to be a defensive assistant.
That's awesome.
And you know what team he's on? The Pittsburgh Steelers, owned by Art Rooney.
So it sounds like the Rooney family are doing the right thing.
Yeah, the Rooney family's doing the right thing. But that's what it comes down to. How the fuck does? But this is my question. How the fuck does Bill Belichick know that they've already offered you the job unless they've already offered you the job and you already know about it? I don't think Bill Belichick is the guy who's breaking this news to you. I don't think Bill Belichick is the one you found out from that you got the job.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that means they've already. Yeah,
it's out there already. Right? You can't make a decision like that inside of a closet. Like you had to make that with a group of people.
They've already called you, offered the job, and you've already accepted it.
Right.
Come on. There's no fucking way you're learning about this from a guy who's not even on that team. There's no way this is the first time you're hearing about this. So I think Brian Flores has a point.
Should he continue to sue even though he has a job now?
Yes. Because that has nothing to do with
compromising his job?
No. Huh. He's a brilliant defensive mind, and his job right now isn't to be a head coach. His job is to be, senior defensive assistant. And he's incredibly overqualified for that position.
Okay.
So it was very smart of them to do that. It shouldn't compromise his lawsuit, even though obviously they will. Well, if the NFL's so racist, then how could they? Like, he didn't say the entire NFL was racist. He said y'all brought him in for a sham interview. That doesn't even necessarily mean that you're racist. It means that you brought him in for a sham interview.
Right. And now, you can explain why you did that. Yeah. I won't assume why you did that if you can explain why you did that.
Yeah. Pay your Rooney Rule fine. None of this would be an issue if you just said, we're not going to interview Brian Flores. We know we want Brian Daboll, and we will just pay our fucking Rooney Rule fine.
Right.
Now, what's interesting to me is lawsuits have a process of what's called discovery, right? Right. Which means a lot of emails, text messages could be. They're going
to ask them for all of that. They're going to subpoena all their emails, all the text messages, all the people that they had on their list to interview. When did they decide to hire everyone on the list and at what salary? And if nothing else, it brings all that information forward.
Mm-hmm. And so to avoid that,
sets precedent.
Yeah. And so to the NFL, to avoid that, is probably going to settle. Because they don't want any of that shit getting out. They'll write it. That's what they did with Kaepernick.
Right. Did you see, speaking of Kaepernick, he is now funding a program that gets autopsies on murders for people who have been killed by the police. Brilliant. See, that's the kind of stuff that money can buy if you can afford a lawyer in a courtroom. Getting a neutral autopsy not coming from the police department. And he is funding a program for that.
We shouldn't need this.
We shouldn't need this.
The state should, if your family member gets killed by the police, the state should pay for a neutral autopsy. Obviously, they won't do that. So yeah.
So props to him for that. I think that's a classy kind of ideal to get behind, to tell you the truth. I think that has a broader and more profound impact than cash bail.
Absolutely.
But again, it's different, right? It's not like comparing apples or oranges and saying we only need the apples, like we need both. But reasonable. It needs to be reasonable. Like every time we swing the pendulum, why does the pendulum have to go from here to here? Like, let's just find the middle ground so that we live in a society that's not either violent or stupid. That's all we want. Ultimately, at the end of the day, right? I just want to be in a society where I'm not surrounded by people trying to kill each other and aren't fucking stupid. Done.
That's it. That's all we really need.
Yeah, I don't need everyone to be Yoda.
Yeah.
I don't need anybody to levitate. If we are moving into a coding and financial world, then that's what we should be teaching in schools. If we're moving into artificial intelligence, then that's what we should be teaching. Everything should be evolving together. If that's where we're socially and culturally shifting, then the curriculum should shift. And then people's ideas about work should shift as those things shift. It shouldn't be this like, this is the way we've always done it. Well, guess what? We're not in that world. Walk outside. It's not 1957. We have no choice. If it was, I'd say that could work for you. Didn't work for a lot of us, but that might work for you. But we are living in a world that is evolving beyond our scope of understanding. Our thinking of how to interact with it must evolve too.
Yeah, or else you're going to get left behind.
Right? And what kind of world do you want to be in? When I walk outside, I don't want to look to my left and my right and think, this one's probably a murderer and this one's probably an idiot. Because then it makes me just want to stay home.
Yeah, and we're going to be a bunch of troglodytes running around here while other countries are fucking on the moon and well, we're on the moon already, but like on Mars and shit.
Right, and we're still here trying to figure out how to get water. I mean, really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I know in Germany, the private sector like will sit down with the Board of Education and say like, here's the things that are coming down the pipeline in the future. These are the things you should be like emphasizing on teaching. We don't have those conversations here.
No, we don't.
Not a difficult conversation. It's not a argument. Right.
It should just be a conversation. It should be an exchange of ideas. It should be something we're all interested in doing in a positive way. I don't understand why we wouldn't be for it. And it doesn't mean that there isn't certain traditions or parts of your lifestyle that you want to hold on to. I get that. There's something meaningful to people, whether it's culturally or personally or religiously or traditionally. There's room for that. All I'm asking for is making room for others so we're not living in a world that's either violent or stupid. That's it.
Tahisha 2024.
Please, you don't want me in the White House. We'd all be smoking weed and drinking whiskey in less than 35 minutes.